Hello and welcome to Tarot with Tanya. This is 7 cards for 7 days, and we are looking at the week of June 10 through June 16. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for returning, and also thank you if you are new. And welcome to all. Please take what resonates for you from this reading. It's a general reading, and then leave out what doesn't resonate for you. And we're starting our week with the moon in Leo, that fiery, creative, leadership type moon energy, to the moon in Libra, which is the moon of the diplomat, the aesthetic, beauty, harmony, getting along. So we've just had a new moon in Gemini, and we have Mars moved into Taurus now, so that should help tone things down a little bit in terms of that more aggressive energy. So I will talk a little bit more about the astrology. I am using the Crow Tarot deck for today's reading, and then we'll end with an oracle card from Enchanted Blossoms. So in terms of the astrology, on Tuesday the 11th, we have Mars square Pluto. That's a little difficult, so you might want to watch it that day. It could bring out manipulation in people. Squares are tough to begin with. Mars, though it has moved into Taurus, so it's not as fiery as it was in Aries. But when it's in that square energy, sort of competing in a way, pushing against Pluto and vice versa, you could get into some jealousy, some rebellion, and it basically could feel stressful, but a way through it is to use your courage. Even if you don't feel brave, you can act like it, and honesty. Those are good ways, good strategies to get through that kind of energy if it presents itself that way to you. Then on Wednesday the 12th, we have Mercury also in a square with Saturn. So that one's not quite so intense. Mercury is, about our communication, our technology, our siblings, ideas. So, Saturn is very realistic, grounded, really wants us to get things done. So it could just kind of tamp that energy down right now, and could feel a little bit tiring, a little bit depressing. But that passes very quickly. Mercury moves fast. On Friday, then, we have the Sun conjunct Mercury. So they're both, of course, in, this is the 14th, they're both in Gemini, and so now we would have very good communication. It's also good for short trips, being social, and even setting goals. And then finally on Sunday, the 16th, we have Venus square Neptune, and Venus also entering Cancer. So Venus ruling the relationships, love, beauty, relationships with females in particular sometimes. Let's talk about it going into Cancer. It's Cancer's about nurturing, home, being protective of the self, others that we love. So Venus will be pretty happy there. It's the square Neptune part that's a little bit more difficult, and that could be people being somewhat deceptive with us, not necessarily even on purpose, but maybe unclear themselves. That Neptunian energy can make us very dreamy, a little bit drifting, out of touch perhaps. So that could be affecting our relationships, when it's squaring Venus in that way. So that's our astrology for the week. A lot of squares, so to keep it mellow. I think a little bit of that is reflected in the cards this week, and as I mentioned, this is the Crow deck. And we only have one major this week. We'd had 4 the last couple. And the things that's standing out to me about this week, in particular with the cards, is pairs of things. We have 2 queens, we have 2 swords, we have 2 tens. So there is some balance in all of that. And, you know, as we end in that moon in Libra at the next Sunday, that makes some sense because Libra is all about the balancing. The scale is representing it. So here's our one and only major for the week, the moon. And of course, that's all about mystery, not really knowing things. You know, we're not in a full moon now. We're just in an early waxing moon. So it's not that full moon lunacy kind of energy. But it could feel like deeply feminine, deeply intuitive, perhaps like you feel something, but it isn't quite clear yet what that might be. And then on Tuesday, that energy might be continuing because we have the Queen of Cups. Sometimes she's called the water fairy, and it's very related to the moon. Here we have a crescent moon, which is essentially what we are in right now. Now this is a waning crescent, and we're in a waxing crescent, so we're growing the moon right now back toward its fullness. But this Queen of Cups also likes to nurture, likes to be in love, can be very intuitive, very psychic as well. When we get to Wednesday, as I mentioned, we have 2 queens this week. So this is our second one, and this one has a very different energy. The Queen of Cups is a double feminine. You know, Queen, of course, is the feminine, and then Cups, water, feminine element. Here we switch to a queen who's also balanced out by a masculine energy, which is the swords representing air. So she's very intellectual. She has thoughts. She has a lot of capability with words. And anytime we're dealing with these people or royal cards, it can be energies within the self or ones that we do encounter in other people. And generally with queens, you might be talking about mature women or, you know, mature feminine energy. Let me put it that way. It doesn't have to be gender defined. So the Queen of Swords, again, might come in, might, you know, be sharp with those words, or might just be very precise with those words and thinking. By the time we get to Thursday, and this is after we've had that Mercury square Saturn, and you know, that can bring up perhaps old memories, thoughts about who we are. 3 of Swords is almost always hard to look at, whatever deck it is, and here, you know, painful with this heart and the 3 swords, you know, piercing right through it because, you know, the heart looks more realistic than a lot of them do. So what does that stand for? Well, one of the resonances for me with this card is the original parent-child relationship. How, you know, it's a triangle. A triangle is a very stable position. You know, with the 2 parents and the child, and how we're all wounded. To be born is going to bring in wounds. That's just how it works. Part of being here on the planet, which I often refer to as Earth School, is learning how to deal with things that are somewhat difficult. So the nice thing about the card is that it is a minor, so it passes very quickly, but it can feel like a stab. And especially, you know, sometimes it's related to jealousy, things like that. So it could be something you're experiencing internally or something someone's projecting at you. But there's creativity in it too, because it is a 3 that makes it connected to the Empress. So again, it will pass quickly and you can take it to a more creative, abundant place. Friday, things get a lot nicer. Here we're dealing with earth energy, the discs, and as I mentioned, we have 2 tens this week. And this is a lovely 10. Sometimes people connect it to home, to prosperity, to having a very solid underpinning in your life, that things feel good. And you know, the colors, the shapes here, very harmonious. You have a little pond of water with some pink lotuses floating on it. Several crows looking happy and so forth. So really good positive vibes on that Friday. Our second 10 is a little bit more difficult. This one is about the wands, and wands are the fire energy. versus the earth of the discs or pentacles. And here, you know, there can be a sense of a burden. And the good news is that the burden can be put down, that the struggle, it can be current, only you will know that, or it can be something that it has already passed, or at least you know, I don't have to do this anymore. I can put this down. The 10s are peaks. You know, in the numerology, you get to that 10, you've got the 1 and the 0. The 0 amplifies, and then it goes away as it rolls right back around to that 1. So in this one, I would encourage you to see it as that energy of, all right, I don't have to carry this like burden. I don't have to carry the energy of something that is distressing. Put it down, move on. And when you get to that ace, back to that ace of wands, there's a lot of great fiery integrity and instinct in that. So we end our week with one more royal card, this time a king, and this is going to be a double masculine because king and then fire. So it's the wands. So it's that same energy, at least element of fire that we had on Saturday. So this one is, I mean, you know, the kings and queens are the peak of that suit of cards. So the energy line here being the fire, I just mentioned the ace of wands, and then it culminates in the king of wands. So this is a wise use of that energy, very discerning. Now that energy can also be pushing. It can be somebody who really likes to be a leader. I mean, it's connected to, you know, like Leo. Of course, here we actually have a lion. It can be running roughshod over others. There's always, you know, a potential dark side to any card. Or it can be really wonderful, creative leadership, inspiring people to do very creative, helpful kinds of things. So remember, again, I mentioned with the royal or people cards that this can be inside you, an energy that you harness and express, or one that is coming toward you. So just a heads up on that. So overall, you know, 3 people cards, so could be some strong interactions, especially again, since they're the kings and the queens, and then just the one major. So that one major could be also showing that there is some kind of a reset happening this week. And then a little bit of a tough day with that 3 of swords on Thursday, and then a better weekend of some kind of recognition of one's prosperity and doing well on Friday, putting down a burden on Saturday, and perhaps celebrating some really good use of masculine energy on Sunday. So we'll finish up with a card from the Enchanted Blossoms deck, and it's always a pairing of a butterfly and a flower. So today, prosperity is what came up. The flower is an allium, and our butterfly is a Brazilian swallowtail. So let me give you a visual on that. Both very beautiful. Related to the onion and garlic, allium was one of the earliest cultivated crops. The Egyptians were among the first to document onion harvesting, but peoples of the ancient world had been doing so for generations. In the mid-19th century, allium was explicitly cultivated as an ornamental bulb for gardens. In that short time, gardeners have created a fantastic array of flowers, and allium can now be planted in a wide range of colors and sizes. Their large round flower heads can grow up to 10 inches in diameters. I just saw a bunch of those last night. We tend to think of prosperity as an end goal. For most people, being prosperous means to be rich or to have everything they always wanted. However, this is not always the case. This card is asking you to work toward creating a life that is full of richness. Grow yourself, your friendships, and experiences to make each year better than the last. Yearn to do better or to do more, not necessarily monetarily, but in ways that will serve others and make you happy. Learn, grow, and do things that will improve your world. If something doesn't work, don't just give up. Failure is a lesson that helps us grow faster. Prosperity comes from consistently moving toward bigger and better things. And those can be very much energies, and again, not materialistic things. So I know we had this one not too long ago, and I just love the message of that. So beloveds, I am wishing you the best week possible. Please like, share, subscribe. I'd like to grow the channel, add more things eventually. And if you need some help, need to contact your guides, find out who they are, what they are about, contact loved ones who crossed over, things like that, look into your future. I am here to help you. So reach out, information is below and at the end of the video, and I'll see you next week.